Well, it's Friday night, and we still haven't recorded Thursday. So Terry and I have just gotten back from dinner, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, we better get caught up. And so we're going to talk to you quickly about yesterday before we forget it because of today. So yesterday, we were still staying at the same hotel that we started at. By the way, we've changed hotels to join the Oat Group. More on that to come. So yesterday, we got up in the morning and we were pretty late getting out. We were kind of lazy. And walked up Bogarshov Street towards the Dezingoff Center and stopped and had lunch at a little...
Called itself a bistro.
A bistro on the way. And we had some drinks, some nice fresh drinks. You had
I had a fresh squeezed orange juice smoothie, so it was sort of frothy and fresh.
And I had a lemon and mint frappe, which was very tasty. And then we had sandwiches with it. And you had
I had a goat cheese sandwich with red pepper in it and some kind of sauce. It was just a little spicy. It was good.
Yeah. And I had a roast beef sandwich, and it also had a sauce on it and some tomatoes and things in it. It was also tasty.
And while we sat there, one of the things we were watching was the street. Because most of the streets in that area of the old town are one way, and there's a divider on the other side of the lanes where there's a bike lane. And interestingly, even though the street is one way, the bike lanes are two-way. And so there's this often interchange between the cars and scooters and bikes that are on the bicycle lanes and cars turning on the street corner.
It was interesting. There was another couple sitting next to us there, right? And they were speaking Spanish, and I was listening to them, and I thought, nah, they're not from Spain. There's no Castilian, and it's not Central America. It's not Mexico, and it's not Colombia, and so we asked them, and they were from Argentina. And they had been in Israel for 50 years. So I asked, I said, well, you left at the time of the colonels, and they gave me a look, and they said, yes. So I think that they were, they looked like left-wingers, and so I think that they were political refugees that had left the military dictatorship. Now, so we went on up the road to the Dezingoff Center, and interestingly, there were all these food carts on the inside of the mall that we just hadn't seen before.
Yeah, they weren't there the other day.
It was packed with these. And so we've got a few pictures of these vendors with their stands with all the food in it.
It's all street food, all ready to be dished up, and certain containers were a certain amount of money. So if you had a smaller container and you put smaller amounts in it, it was a certain amount, and etc. So there were different size containers.
Right. And then from the Dezingoff Center, we went down the street to the Bauhaus place that we had left the previous day, and got our audio tour and walked around some of the neighborhood. They call this the White City because of the architectural Bauhaus style, where they painted in these white or very light colors. And It was interesting seeing the architecture. It wasn't, to me, it looked more Art Deco or Art Nouveau. I often think of Bauhaus as these glass structures, but it wasn't. They were concrete structures. And so that was fascinating.
And many of them were trained in Germany and came to Israel in the 30s when Hitler's party took power. And so they had been trained at the Bauhaus, and they came to Israel, and the 30s was in a time of incredible expansion in Tel Aviv. And so that's one of the reasons there are so many Bauhaus buildings, is the architects were from that archetype, and there was an incredible amount of building going on.
Right. So while we were in the Great Depression, here in Israel, it was a time of fantastic expansion. So I think there was a lot of economic support for new construction, lots of new construction. Tel Aviv was kind of out in the sand dunes outside of Jaffa at the time. So there was all this expansion and money just from the rest of at least a lot of Europe and the United States were in depression.
And then there was a lot of emigration to Israel also.
Right.
And so when Hitler came to power, one of the things that we heard on the headphones, the talk that we were listening to, when Hitler came to power, people who were Jewish were told they could leave at that point in time. They could leave for Israel, and they were accepted in Israel. The British were in power in Israel. But they couldn't take any money out, but they could take out goods. So what they said they brought out was building goods, and they bought building goods from Germany with their money, and that was part of what fueled the architectural homes.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they had to bring German products out to spur the German economy. And they brought out doors and building supplies and so forth. So they brought those with them. Anyways, so there was this huge expansion of Bauhaus architecture here, and it's considered one of the great cities for that.
Yeah, in the world. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well.
And so we got a little tired of walking. We tend to flag out in the middle of the afternoon with our jet lag. And so we went and got an ice cream.
So to speak.
Yes, tell it.
Well, I was going to get some ice cream, but I walked in and saw the fellow making something that I had to have. And it was a cappuccino that had no bitterness whatsoever. It was a cappuccino into which he put a gelato that was a vanilla charcoal gelato. So it was sort of gray colored and vanilla tasting. And he put 2 scoops of that in there. And then he brought it over to this fountain of chocolate and put a little ice cream cone, tiny waffle ice cream cone under it, filled it with chocolate, and nestled it into the drink. It was amazing. And the taste was fabulous. It was so good. I've never seen anything like it. And I had a lot of drama in its presentation. Oh my God. That is so good. It's vanilla charcoal gelato in a cappuccino with this little chocolate ice cream cone, sort of. Oh my God. That is like luxurious.
Yeah. So we sat there and ate that, and this, what's called the Dezingoff square or Dezingoff circus, which is the circular square right in the middle of the White City. And it was fun watching all the scooters and the bicycles and electric bikes, lots of scooters and electric bikes going by. it was really
Yes,
interesting.
and navigating the traffic circle with scooters, electric scooters, and bikes going the opposite direction sometimes of the cars. So it was pretty wild.
Then we walked down, it was late afternoon, and we walked down to the beach, down to the beach promenade, and walked along it, and we could see our hotel, which has a very strange architecture. It's called the Sea Tower, and it looks like, it looked to me like a water tower with the top lopped off so that there wasn't a bulb up there, but there was the stem with it opening up. And then clustered around it were all these rooms that had accrued around it part way up. So it looked kind of unfinished. And the pool right now is closed, but the pool is the very top of it. You'll see a picture and I think it'll make sense. And as we walked on down the promenade, there were lots of people on the beach, and there were these chairs that were built into the seating areas. And there was one building which was this agglomeration that looks very surreal. And it was different from all the other architecture that we saw. And so we stopped at the room, changed, and then we went, well, we didn't change, but we rested, and then we went out and got some, what? We went to dinner.
Seafood bisque.
A seafood bisque.
At the Via Mare?
Via Mare, yeah. So, what do you got there?
Some seafood bisque. Along with a salad. And here's yours.
Great. And then we turned in for the evening because we were stuffed and exhausted. On that note, good evening.